So this is DrumWise Meets, and today I'm with Kenny Aronoff. Hi, Kenny.
How you doing? Nice to see you.
What equipment are you currently using?
I go to my studio every day. I mean, my COVID-19 world is home, car, studio, where I spend 3-5 hours a day, practicing, working on stuff, filming stuff. I've got like 25 songs I have to record. What I'll do is I'll write very, very, very detailed charts. I'm kind of known as the anal chart writer. I write everything out before I even walk in, so I can record 10 songs in one day. I have an engineer, so I'm constantly there, and then I get back in my car and come home, except to get gas and groceries. So the equipment I'm using, I've been with Tama. It'll be 40 years in 2022. I've been with Zildjian my whole life. I switched from Remo to Evans heads, 4 years ago. I was blown away by, I just couldn't believe it. I didn't have a choice in that. The problem was that a buddy of mine wanted me to try the product out, and I don't have time to do much. Between sessions, touring, speaking, I just don't have time. So finally, I tried them out. And what it was, the heavyweight top and a hazy 300 on the bottom. Every drum I put that on, snare drum I put that on, the engineers, both live and the studio, said, "How did you make your drum sound so good?" Or it was already good, but they would they said, "Sounds way better." So I finally asked the engineers, "Why do you like it better?" It says, "Because we get more frequencies, a range of frequencies that we can work with." Anyway, I switched to Evans, and I still think Remo's great, but I'm playing Evans. Vic Firth, my whole life, he was my teacher when I started playing timpani, and I have my signature sticks from, he designed or I designed with him. Then we get into Humes and Berg cases, and I am an endorser, even though I pay for it, but I get a discount. It's a BAE, Technologies, which is like my studio gear. It's like basically high end, preamps and EQs. It's like having Neve and APIs. And right now I'm not endorsing any percussion, and that's the main ones. Microphones, I have an endorsement with Shure, but I use Warriors, my Hobbies. I use a mixture of everything in my studio.
Again, another question you've been asked loads probably, but let's go for it. So what age did you start drumming, and what bands did you grow up listening to?
Well, my story is I was playing outside with my brother at 10 years old. There was nothing to watch on TV back then. My mom screamed at me and my brother come in the house, and we go running in, and I thought I was in trouble, which was usually the case. But she was pointing to the TV set, and mind you, it was a black and white TV set with the rabbit ears to get better reception. And there were the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. Now, I grew up on our turntable. My parents played jazz. They came from New York City. A lot of jazz. Miles Davis, John Coltrane, big band stuff, Louis Bellson, Buddy Rich, McCoy Tyner, just jazz, and classical music. And the Boston Symphony Orchestra would have their summer festival 3 miles from my house. So, and I was listening to show tunes, and my parents had. So when the Beatles came on, I just could not believe what I was seeing. It was the first time I saw rock and roll, and I felt it hard. And all I know is I said to my mom, "Who are those guys?" And she said, "Well, they're the Beatles." I said, "I want to play the Beatles. I want to play, call them up, get me in the Beatles." Well, she obviously didn't call me up, and I want to play, forget the piano lessons. I want to play drums. I thought Ringo was the coolest. That was so cool. Drums way up high, and he's playing. Anyway, I was electrified. I was so electrified. And so she didn't get me a drum set or call the Beatles up. So I said, I'm going to start my own band. So I'm 10 years old, and all I could afford was a snare drum and a cymbal. And I stood up and played 16-inch Zildjian cymbal on Ludwig snare drum, 5x14, 6 lugs, because it was a jazz drum. See, my mom went down to New York. I saved up $20. She went and got the snare drum, and it was 6 lugs because jazz drummers wanted tone, and I still have that snare drum, by the way.
Oh, wicked.
The funny story is I sold it for some marijuana when I was a teenager, and then I bought it back when I became famous. I had to pay $400 to get it back. I asked somebody how much is my snare drum worth? They said probably $400 to $600. So I offered the guy $400. I got it back. Anyway, I played. That's how I started. The Beatles were a huge influence, and then of course the Stones. But then when Jimi Hendrix hit the airwaves, that was it, man. I went whoa. I went into a whole different direction, and I really identified with Mitch Mitchell because he was a jazz drummer, and I identified with his feel as a swing drummer. I'd been playing jazz. I tried to play jazz as a little kid. And so I just identified with that whole thing, which ironically, last year I went on tour with Joe Satriani and Doug Pinnick from King's X, who played bass and sang, and we were a power trio on the Hendrix Experience tour through America, and it was badass. And we're playing we got to play 5 or 6. At one point we were doing 6 Hendrix songs, but they were all from most of them from the first album, Are You Experienced? If 6 Were 9, Third Stone from the Sun. Crosstown Traffic wasn't from that record. We played Voodoo Child, I Don't Live Today. I mean, it was unbelievable playing that stuff and improvising and going crazy. And I was supposed to be in England right now, actually in May, with the Joe Satriani tour, because I just did his record, which is blazing. It's called Shape Shifting. It's really doing well. It actually entered the charts at number 8 on the top 100 charts on Billboard, which is huge. I mean, there's no vocals. He's competing with all the pop and rap people, and he came in number 8.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's a badass record. Every song is a different style of music. It's really cool. So, so those were some of the, of course, eventually Bonham, Keith Moon, Ginger Baker. There were so many great drummers back then.
Awesome. If you had to pick an all-time favorite drummer, I know this is like ridiculously hard. If there was like one that was your all-time favorite, is that possible?
Well, in rock and roll, I'd have to pick. If I had to pick one, it'd be John Bonham. Not only was he an incredible player, but he was diversified in style, and he listened very well. He understood music really, really well. I mean, you could have 1,000 drummers play Kashmir, and it would never sound like that. And Kashmir, if you were to notate it, it's the simplest beat in the world. Boot, bot, boot, bot, with accented 8 notes, but it's easy to practice technique. It's not easy to practice simplicity, because how do you define it? It's a very difficult thing to define. It just is. His decision where to place the kick drum and the snare drum, and how much to open the hi-hat, the balance. You can't describe it. It just is. So John Bonham. And as far as jazz, once again, if I had to, I'll pick Buddy Rich, because there was nobody. He was extraordinary. And, I got to say, it had something to do with the bands they were in. I mean, Buddy Rich had his own band, and, and and I'm lucky I got to record with the Buddy Rich Big Band. It was the loudest thing I had just done Cinderella. I did a week in Philadelphia recording Cinderella, a week in Nashville doing Hank Jr. I'd been in LA, New Orleans, and Montreal doing session work, because I could go sometimes 3 months with not one day off. I had 2 sets in New York, 2 sets in LA, 2 sets in Nashville, many sets in Indiana, set in Germany, and a set in Japan. And I was just constantly doing sessions. And I came in there, barely had any sleep. And that band was right in front of me. That was the loudest thing. I could not only were they loud, but their timing was impeccable. They were on the edge. And if you tried to lay back at all, They just leave you in the dust. They were like the tightest band I've ever played. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I got to, of course, I got to work with Neil Peart, was the producer, and I got to record Big Swing Face, but Straight No Chaser that was the scariest session I've ever done in my life. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, what an experience. And actually, you talk about John Bonham. Just a little side note here. In the UK, I don't know if you know, we're quite big on like tribute acts. So my main gig is a theatre tribute act to Deep Purple and to Led Zeppelin. So we're called Purple Zeppelin. So I know exactly what you mean about Bonham. I literally twice, 3 times a week, I have to go and do this show and I try my absolute best to play it like him. But there is obviously
no way,
no one that's ever going to play like that. But just, what a absolute monster.
Yeah, it's great though. You are a lucky mofo. You get to play. I would love that gig. You get to try to play like John Bonham every night. It's like you're getting paid to go to school. And you'll never be, I have a line. It goes like this: I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. So that would be like you trying to be like John Bonham. Well, what a great thing. You're going to always try to be, it's only going to make you better. And to play like Ian Pace, the same thing. This is wonderful. I used to play we do like some Bonham, we have a Bonham tribute night down at the Whiskey a Go-Go down on Sunset. I used to go down there, they have a drum set. I brought a 26-inch bass drum, 6.5 by 14 snare, and I brought the hi-hat pedal with the 16-inch hi. I wanted to make sure kick, snare, hi-hat was correct.
Yeah.
otherwise, why do it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to play John Bonham with 22-inch kick drum. No way. So anyway, that's fantastic.
And interestingly, they're such different drummers. Like, the way they play is so different, but they're so incredible on, like Ian Pace, he's just his swing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's phenomenal.
Anyway, we could talk about that for ages. Next question. So you've kind of already talked about this when you showed me the chart. So when you first get some work with a new artist, whether it's a tour or some recording work, how do you kind of figure out what you've got to play? I mean, I know it's going to be different for every situation.
That's a good question. I'll answer a couple ways. Okay, when somebody sends me a demo, which a lot of times they send me songs, I write every single note out because invariably that's what they've been used to hearing. And so the first take, I write every note out. So when I go in the studio, by the way, I like to get full takes. I'm old school. I want full takes because they sound different than when you start chopping and piecing everything together. I want the emotion of me playing from beginning to end. So I do full takes. Occasionally I'll punch in, but I try not to. So I do full takes, and I write everything out. The first take is exactly what they sent me, and then the next take I start doing things I think that give them some variety of fills. Instead of open hi-hat, I might go to the ride cymbal or go to the floor tom playing 8 notes. I give them variations, but I also check with them and I ask them, what are you keeping and what are you not? Because I make them send me an MP3 of the click track separate from the MP3 without the drums, and I put that in the Pro Tools. And if they're not keeping their parts, I play to the click. If they are keeping their parts, then I have to make sure I sound like we played together. Now, when I'm getting ready for the Joe Satriani tour that's been postponed, I said, Joe, except for the new record, which I played on, which I just copied everything I did, on all the old material, and when I do shows like the Kennedy Center Honors, whenever I play with like a Sting or Billy Joel or Bruce Springsteen or Chris Cornell, and we're honoring somebody, I listen to the record, the original record, but then I go to YouTube and look at the latest performance. Because most of the time, these artists change the way they did it on the record. Especially if you're playing, let's see, we were honoring the Who. Oh my God, we were playing songs from way back in the 70s, and Dave Grohl comes out to sing Who Are You? Well, he wanted to do it like the record, but like when I did when I did Bruno Mars, and we were honoring Sting, we're playing all these Police songs. Of course, I wrote every single note that Stuart Copeland played, because Jesus, why wouldn't you? But Bruno did a medley, and he wanted me to break it down. I think it was what song was it? Message in the Bottle. Message in the Bottle. I think we broke it down to a halftime or something. See, he actually in rehearsal said, "Do you mind if I show you?" He sat on my drums. I said, "Sure." And he wanted to show me something, but he wasn't sure. And I went, "I think you want to go to halftime." He says, "Yeah, that's it." So I will adapt, in those situations. Same with Joe. I asked Joe Satriani, what version you want me to learn? And he said, well, learn do it the way we did it in Paris in 2018 or whatever it was. So I watched that. But then he sent me the list of songs to learn, sent to me and the bass player and the piano player. And I suddenly realized, wait a minute, those guys were all learning these arrangements. So I better learn these arrangements, because that's what they're learning their parts to. Yeah. So I went back and then did it that way. And then I was going to wait till rehearsal to see how we change things. So that's how I do it.
That's cool. So there's a big element of charting stuff out, just because, for students who think, I don't need to learn drum.
No, well, let me tell you something. All right, I'll give you an example. People say I'm the busiest working drummer in the world. Well, I'm constantly carrying. Like I was doing the John Fogerty. I was doing a thing in Vegas. That show I've got memorized because I've been with him so long. But I had to learn 32 songs. Basically, on November 16th, I'll do my last show with Fogerty. On the 17th, I'm on a plane to Moscow. When I land, I'm going right to the Kremlin to rehearse that night from 8 to 10 or 11. And the next day, 10 to 6, rehearse, and 7 to 11, film and record the last performance of a band that's been around for 50 years. Now, I had 32 songs. In other words, I was supposed to be there for 10 days rehearsing. I didn't have time. I was in Vegas. They waited so long to get back to me to finalize it, I took other work. So I said to them, all right, look, I can't make all those rehearsals, but I write everything out. If you give me all the arrangements, the latest arrangements, I'll come off that plane and be ready. Tempos, cues. And when I'm in rehearsing, I learn the way the show goes. I write everything down. When to count off, who counts off, who to look at, who ends, everything possible about running a show. I write down on paper. So I can't remember. Because, by the way, while I'm learning all that stuff, I'm getting ready. When I fly back from Moscow, I have to do a show with Billy Gibbons, Steve Lukather, Nancy Wilson from Heart, and all these other people. 15 songs for another TV show. I can't memorize that stuff. Too much time. I write it all down. That's why. That's what helps me work so much. And then it's always something. Now I have 25 songs to record. I don't have time to sit there and try to learn them in the studio. I write it all out. I won't even go in the studio until everything is charted out.
You heard it here, kids. Kenny Aronoff says reading drum music is really important. There you go.
Well, I mean, if you want to live the life I live, if you want to work as much as I do, you can't possibly jump from one act to the other and memorize that much material if they want it to be as precise as most people do.
I feel it can only help. It can't hinder you in any way. So,
No.
Yeah, cool. I thought that was important for like younger ones kind of starting out, like,
I'm not, that doesn't mean you're a bad drummer if you can't read. I mean, Dave Grohl doesn't read music. I mean, Dennis Chambers doesn't read music. Buddy Rich didn't read music. John Bonham didn't read music. Keith Moon didn't. They're great drummers. But if you want to be the working session drummer going from one band to the next, like a guy like me, Josh Freese reads music. I read music. Greg Bissonette reads music. And, you know.
Yeah, and they're all busy guys. So
All very busy guys.
slightly random curveball one for you here. What are your hobbies away from drumming?
Actually, I'm reading a book right now. When I do read, it's about he's one of my heroes, Winston Churchill, one of your guys.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill was a bad mofo. One thing I liked, am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Yeah, fine, do what you want.
Yeah. Thing I liked about Winston Churchill is he didn't give a fuck what anybody thought of him.
Yeah.
That's the only way he was gonna beat Hitler, because everybody was screaming at him. Everybody wanted him. You know, the guy that came before him, Chamberlain, wanted Churchill to negotiate with Hitler through Mussolini. That would be like negotiating with the COVID-19 through SARS. It's like negotiate with this disease through that disease. You're gonna die. And that's what Churchill was saying. No, I am not gonna negotiate with those guys. He said, this is a quote. He says, when will you learn? When will you learn? You cannot reason with a tiger when you have your head in his mouth.
Yeah.
Can't. So anyway, so that I don't read a lot, but that's what I'm reading. That love sports. I'm a big sports, all sports, NFL football. I like World Cup soccer. I like anything sports. I'm very competitive. I was a super jock when I was a kid. So, you know, sports hobbies. I work out. I mean, I believe that I have a foundation. It's the 8 steps to a healthy life. It's my foundation. I can run it down real quick. It's like, and because especially now with this COVID thing where, you know, all of a sudden no tours, no live gigs. It's a really heavy thing for musicians. This will be the longest I've been where I haven't played with or rehearsed with another musician since I was 10 years old. That's the longest. So I have this foundation, and the foundation is to make you strong mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's 8 things. 1, I lift weights. And lifting weights, you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Even if you do 20 minutes, you could do push-ups, you know, in the room. Anyway, point is lifting weights, it not only makes you strong, but elevates your hormone levels, which fights disease. And we're fighting a disease right now. So you gotta be healthy. 2, cardio. Cardio is anything that, you know, exercises the heart. It's the only way you can exercise the heart is with cardio. Cardio also elevates your hormone levels, keeps you healthy, keeps your immune system up. Your immune system is what you need to deal with disease. And as much as I travel and as much as I work, man, I cannot get sick. And I do, but I know what to do to get through it fast. Number 3 is flexibility, stretching, yoga, stretching. I could be better at that, but nevertheless, I know that's it. So you got strength, endurance, and flexibility. Number 4 is diet. I won't get into it because it's too long. That's too long of a thing. But obviously, less processed foods, more fruits and vegetables. Stay away from fried foods as much as possible. You know what to do to eat healthy. Nobody dies from too much broccoli or cauliflower. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't open you up and say, ate too much broccoli. They died. They should not have done that. No. Okay, so a balanced diet. Number 5, I take a lot of supplements because I work so hard. I take a multiple vitamin, a lot of D3, which is building your immune system. You can get it in cod liver oil, you know, meats and fatty fishes, but D3, extra C, my fish oil is very important. It helps you with 30 different not illnesses, but 30 different things. It's good for your eyes, good for your heart, good for your liver, good for everything. And I can go on. Super green food. I have green food in a protein shake every day. Number 6 is water. Every organ in your body needs water. I don't drink enough water. I drink a lot of coffee. I need to drink more water. But every organ, you can live 40 days without food, only 3 days without water. every organ out. Matter of fact, that's how you bring oxygen into your brain through your blood, is with water. So that's number 6. Number 7, now we'll get to the trickier stuff, meditation. When I say meditate, I'm not saying you sit there and do that. Meditation could be just sitting down, slowing your brain down to relax. The whole purpose of meditation is to lower stress. Stress will make you sick faster than anything else. So if you're stressful, and here's a big way to lower your stress, is deep breathing. 4 counts in, hold it for 7, and 4 counts out. It sounds silly, but it works. So if you're stressing, if I'm stressing, I'll just finally go, all right, time out, sit in the chair, and just, all you do is have to think about one thing. Think about snare drum. Think about your sticks. And just get rid of all the clutter and just focus on one thing. It'll slow you down. Think about the coolest drum beat, but just slow yourself down. Stress is number 7. Number 8 is sleep. Now, sleep is the only time your body repairs itself physically and your brain. That's the time your brain and your body repairs. 6 to 8 hours is what we need. There's another thing I just learned about sleep. Did you know that given this COVID-19 or any disease, the brain during the day, the body the body is learning how to fight disease during the day. It's trying to figure it out like mad scientists. When you sleep, the brain is memorizing what it learned about disease. Is that crazy or what? And now I just read that from a doctor. I didn't read it. I saw the podcast, and I know this doctor. She's famous. She's really badass. Yeah. So anyway, those are my 8 steps. The point is, if you got that list and you think if you do a little of each one of them every day, that keeps me on track. That plus going to the studio, it keeps my foundation, keeps me in shape, keeps me on point, keeps me focused, and it makes me happy.
Awesome.
Bet you didn't expect that.
No, it's just great. I need to drink more water as well. Too much tea and coffee for me, big time.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same thing, tea and coffee.
Another one for you. In terms of like warming up before you play, is that something that you do?
I have a specific workout I do. It involves using all 4 limbs, or at least 3 limbs. Everything I practice, I can do it in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour. Depends on how much time I have. But I have a specific warm-up. It's based on the first 13 lines of stick control, except I reverse lines 11 and 12. Because if you do 12 into 13, the way it's written, you'll have 7 rights in a row. If you flip lines 11 and 12, the most you'll ever have is 4 of one hand in a row. So every time I'm focusing on my hands, I involve my feet. Every time I'm focusing on my feet, I involve my hands. That's why it's called functional. It's a functional practice routine. It's very efficient, very functional, and I'm practicing things that are going to make me sound good today. Make me practice the things that I am using. Like if I were, holy shit, the functional practice routine for what you do with the Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple tribute, oh my God, you could, once I would get through my routine, one of the things like I would be practicing on is the triplets that John Bonham does with his right foot, like in Good Times, Bad Times. Yeah. I would create a 10-minute practice routine around that, basically playing different beats, different lengths of that triplet, maybe just for like after 3 and 4, or maybe just 1 measure, maybe 2 measures, or like he did 2, 2 measures? Yeah, 2 measures. I mean, I would create an exercise around that. I'd also create an exercise around his triplets. He does left hand, right hand, foot. And that's the way I do it. So it's high tom, floor tom, foot. And I would create a routine, practice routine, coming out of beats, going into that going to the snare drum, the end of rock and roll. He starts on the floor tom, goes this way. I would practice all that every day. Then I would practice, let's see, with him, it's endless what you could come up with him and with Ian Pace. You create exercises that help you play those parts better. It's endless. So I have a very specific routine. I do a single stroke rolls is my biggest thing. I've got, because single stroke rolls in rock and roll is the biggest thing. to
Mm.
have the speed and the precision. If you listen to the first song on Satriani's record called Shapeshifting, it starts off with like it's blazing,
Yeah.
and it's like I can't do that unless I practice that for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a very specific workout. So yes, I do. Everybody laughs at me on the way to sound. I can do it right here without a drum set. I can do it in a hotel room. Everybody hears me. At 4 a.m, I'll get a text from somebody. Is that you above me doing your single stroke exercise? Yes, it is.
Nice.
Because sometimes I do this routine. I definitely do the routine, the 20-minute routine I'll do before sound check, before the gig, and sometimes before I go to bed. So I wake up warmed up.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I couldn't do my show, that show. I couldn't do that without warming up. I have to do half an hour, and our
Well,
song used to be "Burn."
oh yeah, I played that one.
It's mad though. The speed, like it's like 190 BPM or something.
I actually played that with Glenn Hughes at the Whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I told you, single strokes.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's single strokes.
What's your favorite cookie?
Well, that's not supposed to be in your diet, dude.
Yeah.
Cookie. Anything peanut butter I love.
Ah.
Anything peanut butter. So I'd say peanut butter cookie if I'm going to have a cookie. And the next would be oatmeal raisin.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
And, my English wife just texted me. What'd she say? Oh, I'm gonna grill burgers tonight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, burgers.
Are you in? Is that something you're into? You into cooking?
Not really. She's not really. My wife's oh my God, is she a good cook?
Yeah.
And yeah, she'll do. What is it called? Bangers and mash.
Oh yeah.
She'll do all, but she cooks great. Really healthy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is it easy enough for you to show us some of the? Again, tell me to shut up if you don't want to do this. But some of the stuff you've got on records that you got on the wall and stuff. Is it easy?
Oh yeah. I mean, let me tell you, I've got 1,300 gold, platinum, diamond records. But people don't know, in America, a gold record is 500,000 records. Platinum record is 1 million. Diamond is 10 million. Now I've recorded 300 million records sold, and 3 of them were 40 million record sales. 2 Celine Dion records, and then Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell 2, sold over 40 million. And I got to tell you something. That song, I'll Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That. When I was recording it, I thought, you guys are wasting your money. Nobody plays a song more than 3.5 minutes on the radio. That's just, everybody knows. This song is like 8.5 minutes long. All right, cool. If you're paying me, I'll do it. So they're paying me. A year later, I get called to do more of that record. We did the first part in LA. Now we're going to do some more in New York, and they're going to add 2.5 more minutes to that song with the piano. I would do anything for love. Anyway, I'm like, you guys, no, who's going to play that record? Dude, when that album came out, that record was #1 in 20 countries the first week. And that song was played all over the radio. I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, so some of these records, let's see what we got here. Can you see? Can you see that stuff?
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
All right, let me see what we got here. That big one right there, is that Canada? That's, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? That's 6 times platinum in Canada. Well, let's see. This is a Melissa Etheridge for an album I did with her. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Up there is Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. There's Bob Seger. Can you see that? There's more Mellencamp. Oh, there's Belinda Carlisle. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Belinda Carlisle, The Heaven on Earth. That was a #1 hit single. Heaven on Earth. There's Chickenfoot.
Lovely.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Up there. Oh, that's that movie, That Thing You Do. Did you ever see That Thing You Do?
No, I don't know if I have.
Oh, that's a great movie about a band. Tom Hanks wrote it. Let's see. This is more Mellencamp. There's Michelle Branch. I don't know if you see that. Anyway, there's
Wow.
so many.
Yeah. How do you choose which ones to put on the wall?
I don't know. I just picked ones that would. I don't know. I don't know. I got them under my desk. I've got them. I've got ones here. They're just everywhere. And I never got Bridges of Babylon. I played on a Rolling Stones record. I played some percussion. I would love to have had that one, but that's all right.
So if you could give one bit of advice for up and coming drummers, whether they're complete beginners or fairly on in their career, what would that advice be?
If you just enjoy, play drums to enjoy it. You do it because you like doing it. If you want to get better, then you got to practice. If you do nothing, you get nothing. It's like math. 0 = 0. You do nothing, you get nothing. And I have a technique called RPS. The repetition of any skill is the P, the preparation for success. Anything. It doesn't matter if it's drums or anything. Lifting weights, relationships. If you want to get good at something, you have to put in the hours. It's that simple. And if you don't, you can only go so far. I don't care how talented you are. The more talented you are, the further you should go. You just have to. It's not nobody's born successful. You make success. So I would say to musicians, just do it for fun, especially now because it's not exactly the easiest way to make a living. It used to be record labels sold millions of records and they made like 82 cents on the dollar. 40 million times 82 cents is a lot of money. Then they could invest in a new band and they could put bands in the studio and put bands on the road, put bands on the radio. They could use the money like any business. You would invest back into the company, but that's all gone. Records are free. So where's that money coming from? To create new bands. So you're kind of on your own. So do it because you love doing it. Because when you love what you do, you will be able to deal with hard work and self-discipline and perseverance. If you love what you're doing, you'll push through the tough times. There you go.
Great advice. Awesome. I've been playing for like 20 years and, just like seeing you in drum magazines and stuff. And then just to have a chat with you like this is just
cool.
Great.
Awesome. Hey, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much again. All the best. Just stay safe and
yep. Yeah.
Thanks, Kenny. Bye.
Yep. Bye.